Hi there, my name is Chrissy Hodges. I'm a mental health advocate, author of Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, a peer support specialist, and an OCD resource consultant. I am grateful to be here with you today on the second day of a brand new year in 2018, and I thought it was really appropriate today to talk about something that I think is important for many of us who live with mental health symptoms, and that is connectedness. I don't know if that's actually a word because when I spell it out without a hyphen, it has the red line under it. But being able to connect when it comes with mental health symptoms. And today I want to talk about two instances in my life with my own lived experience where the lack of that connectedness made things worse for me, and then how it helped me heal after. The reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because I don't know about you, but for me, I tend to feel pretty disconnected over the holidays. I have some trauma from holidays in the past, but I also feel and have always felt this feeling of what things should be. I don't know if that's part of having OCD or if it's just who I am in general. But when the holidays come along, my brain tends to go to what things should be like, what things shouldn't be, and how I am comparative to other people. And that can really get in my head about things. Not to mention, I've had a lot of clients, peer support clients, I do peer support worldwide, saying the same things. That we feel like it should be a certain way and it's not, and then the lack of feeling connected to the moment, the lack of feeling connected to the holiday. And these things are scary for us, those of us that have mental health symptoms, as you probably know. When you're not feeling connected, it can be really scary. And not being able to ground too can also feel scary, especially if you have ever experienced dissociation or depersonalization. So I wanted to talk about it today. Also, I joined Instagram recently. After many months and years of resisting, the main reason is Instagram feels triggering to me because, again, it's seeing everybody else's life on display and look at what everybody's doing and how great, and shouldn't my life be like that? And not that I don't want to celebrate in what people are doing, but it really does cause anxiety sometimes and makes me pull back from feeling connected with people. Almost, I'm just going to say it, almost like I'm not good enough. My life isn't good enough. And I go down that rabbit hole. And so I did join Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, please follow me and don't judge some of my posts. I'm still learning. I'm at Pure O Chrissy. And I did this mainly because I wanted to promote a new project that I'm doing. Now, I'm here today to tell you why I'm doing the project. I'm not here today to promote it to you, even though I would love for you to see or experience it and see what you think. I did it to promote my new podcast that I solely did to be able to connect with people on more of a personal level than my normal YouTube videos and things like that. There are things that we go through in our life, in our journeys with mental illness, symptoms, stigma, emotions that we feel really alone with. And sometimes they can seem really embarrassing or really trivial to share with other people. And I have found throughout the 20 years that I have been working toward recovery, that the more that I get to break down those little that seem like cracks in my story where I just think people won't understand this. I don't think people will get this. And that leaves me very disconnected, and leaves kind of like that hole in my journey. I have found that a lot of those have been eliminated by talking to people about their lived experience and them sharing the things that they have been through. That connectedness and their vulnerability helped me to go, oh my gosh, me too. And all of a sudden, it made me feel like I was less alone, which is to me exactly what being connected with people is about and why it's important for those of us who live with mental health. And I saw someone posted earlier something about not being around people or not liking being around people. And trust me, I will get into that in a minute. I don't mean like, for me, being connected is not going out and like partying every Friday night or just being like in a room full of people. No, I crave a different connection than that. But the podcast I did solely, it's 5 days a week, 5 minutes or less. Sorry, sometimes I go over, it's like 6 minutes or less. And it's solely to be able to connect on those deeper levels. It's in the mornings. So sometimes people have the hardest times in the morning. You wake up and remember the symptoms are still there. You wake up and remember the stress that you were feeling the day before. And that's one of the loneliest times for me. Nobody gets it. Nobody understands. And I could stay under the covers all day, even though I know I can't, but I want to because I'm so scared of how alone I am. So I wanted to do it in the morning so that people can hear their story. You're not alone in your story, and being able to connect to someone who gets it, who's been there. And I have not been everywhere that you've been, and you haven't been everywhere that I've been. But there is something to be said by understanding that someone has walked in the shoes that you have, or is just walking alongside of you and is willing to be there. For me, the connectedness piece is important because I lived for 12 years with OCD, pure OCD symptoms, violent sexual intrusive thoughts. I had no idea that I had an illness, no idea. And I was so lonely and so isolated for those 12 years. I was terrified every moment of the day. I often say this about living with OCD before diagnosis and treatment. I was seriously just surviving. And that survival to me was scraping by every day, making a commitment that I would not kill myself by the end of the day, which eventually I actually tried and luckily survived and was hospitalized and diagnosed correctly. That not being able to connect with people in those dire straight moments of having symptoms, but then afterwards, all of the emotions that I felt as a result of having a mental illness, as a result of feeling like damaged goods walking on the planet, somebody who would hire me, who will love me, who will, all of those things that most of us feel. I sat in that too for another 12, 15 years without telling anybody. And it saturated my being. It wasn't until I was able to connect with people who just got it. And it wasn't about the symptoms, y'all. It was not just about, that helped that people got it and they understood, but it really was about this. Yeah, I felt that way too. Yes, I felt like nobody would ever want to be my friend. If anybody knew what I had been through or what I was capable of in my suicide attempt, they would be too scared to be friends with me. It's too much of a risk. Things like that. To hear other people say they felt the same way helped me to connect not only to them, but connect to the emotion inside of me that I had buried so deep that it had become too fearful for me to even try to face. But knowing there was somebody that I could sit here and talk to who said, me too. It made me want to look at it again and want to say, I want to share this with you too. And I want you to know, I'm not this horrible person that I've built myself up to because of all of the stuff that I've been denying. So that was my first, and it was with a peer support. So this is why peer support is so powerful. That was the first time I'd ever really thought that recovery was in reach, because I could start to heal and appropriately think, you are not alone, Chrissy, in anything that you've been through. And then recently, this is still a little bit hard for me to share. So I feel really nervous about connecting with you about this, but I have recently been come to terms with the fact that I have a substance use issue. And one of the things that not that caused the substance use issue. I mean, that has been a coping strategy of mine for a long time. But one of the things that really opened my eyes was I have some injuries from being an athlete for years, and also from trying to not ground and connect to myself for so long, that I have gotten compensation injury after compensation. I don't know if any of you can relate to me, but sometimes at night, before I realized all of this, I would try to relax and I couldn't relax. And to me, it was like, one more drink, then you'll relax. And I couldn't even feel my body on the sofa. I couldn't connect with the people in my life. I couldn't connect with what I was watching on TV. There was nothing that was connecting me. I felt like something inside of me wanted to just like break out of my body, because I couldn't stand being in my own skin. And this is just after years and years and years of running away from trauma and running away from those emotions. And I started going to this therapy. It's called movement therapy, where I relearn how to breathe and how to connect to the floor. I know y'all are probably like, this is some voodoo stuff, but it's not. It really is retraining how to breathe from your core and how to like connect to the floor. I went to 3 sessions and I came home and I couldn't believe I could feel my feet on the ground. I could feel myself touching things. It was like all of a sudden all my senses were alive again. And solely because I connected to the floor and learned how to breathe correctly. And y'all, the urge to drink was completely gone. At least that night. I'm still battling substance use, and it's something that I will for years, and I'll work toward recovery. But I remember feeling for a second, I connected to the ground. I could feel my body connecting to something, and all of a sudden, that substance use that I have relied on for so many years went to the back burner. And it was, to me, it was just a testament. There's a lot of research about connectedness and how that affects mental health and how that affects substance use. And I felt it firsthand, and I was blown away. Now, and I'm going to go ahead and say, like, I'm continuing to work on it. There is no just one fix. I still have a substance use illness. I still have OCD. I will my whole life. But that's where, when things like Christmas happen, and when all of a sudden I get put back, y'all might understand this. When you've lived with symptoms for so long, and at certain periods in your life, they've caused incredible trauma. Things will come up like triggers, like Christmas trees, or whatever else it is for you or for me. And all of a sudden you feel like you go back to who you were when you were 10, and all of a sudden it feels so real again. And it's almost like I don't recognize myself. Oh my God, I'm this 40-year-old, but I feel like I'm in this 15-year-old body, still doing the same things and responding the same way and having these horrible feelings and trauma. And so when this stuff comes up for me, I remember the connection is what helps. Now, that is so much easier said than done. So much easier. I don't want to reach out. I'm scared. I'm scared of rejection. I'm scared of people that think that I'm a burden. They don't want to hear my problems. I get totally frightened of that. So I choose, and this is what I wanted to tell you that's helped me. I don't know if it'll help you, but it helps me. I write down the things I can do when I am in a horrible place. When I'm out of the horrible place, I write it down because it's way easier then. And I read it and I remember I can reach out to so-and-so because I connected to them before they were willing to listen. I can go on to the OCD stories with Stuart Ralph because listening to that doesn't trigger me. It makes me feel better. Yes, it might be a compulsion and reassurance. Who cares? Okay, I hope no OCD therapists are watching. I make sure the coping mechanisms that I've used before and that they work. And I have to force it, y'all. I have to force it because I don't want to be that person. I always am afraid of being that person that's, going to be the burden, but I do the things that work. Now, I also wanted to say what doesn't work for me. You think about connectedness and people think, oh, you just want to be around people. Going to a crowded bar, no, that causes more anxiety for me. Going to a mall, going and being around people, I feel more isolated. I feel even farther connected to humanity. So what makes you feel connected? Is it animals? And if you don't have an animal, can you go to a petting zoo? Can you go to the Humane Society and volunteer? Is it family? Is it not family? There's also toxic connectedness, which we have to be very mindful of. I was just talking to someone today doing peer support, and he brought up a good point. Why would you continue to go back to people who just make you feel horrible? For me, I did that for years because I thought to myself, I don't deserve to have good people in my life. I'm lucky if anybody wants to be part of my life. And that fear kept me in toxic relationships and toxic connectedness, which didn't help my situation. There are things that we can do, and I'm going to compare and contrast. We are lucky to be in the information age where we can reach out and we can connect with people pretty immediately. That also works against us, right? You see other people's lives and you think they've got all their shit together. Like, I'll never be like that. This is how I feel. And it's comparative. It can be really scary. It can make things worse. This is why what I do is write it down before. Who are the people I can go on and I know will be there for me? I'm going to tell you, I have best friends around the world that maybe I've met once or I've never met at all that I know I can go to. There are forums for any sort of mental health issue. There's Mental Health on the Mighty right here. There are videos you can go watch to just help you feel that connectedness in those darkest moments when you need it the most. So that's what I wanted to leave you with today is, what is it that makes you feel connected? Yours is probably different than mine. Mine is different from yours, and it doesn't matter what anybody else feels. All that matters is what you feel and what you need in that moment that's so difficult to reach out, that's so difficult to say, I think things can get better. I know things can get better. I know there's hope out there somewhere, because I know exactly what it feels like. Even recently, I've been in symptoms in the last few weeks. I know exactly what it feels. It can feel so hopeless. My philosophy is it's okay to sit in that hopelessness for a little while. I always have to pout. I always have to cry. I cried it out yesterday for a half hour when my symptoms arose. But I can choose to always push back. That is something I can do. I can choose to push back. How does that happen? Find out. Make a list. Put it in the drawer. And when things get really tough, open up that drawer and go, that's right. I can go on Mental Health on the Mighty. I can go listen to this podcast. I can connect with that one person that was there for me, and I'm going to take the risk and reach out to them and see. I can call that peer support warm line and talk to someone who just gets it. So with that said, one of the reasons why I did create the podcast is for this very reason. And I'm going to tell you, I hate to say this, but it has become such of a benefit to me that I even told my partner, Sean, I was like, I don't care if everybody hates it. I love it so much. I'm doing a podcast. It's coffeewithchrissy.buzzsprout.com. My Instagram page at pureochrissy, you can find the link on my bio. I do 5 to 6 minutes every day, messages of hope. And the soul, I'm not like, go every day. I'm doing it specifically. So when you are having that day and you think nobody's here, I don't know what to do, go to that page. I'm there right with you to let you know that you're not alone. And that's why I did it. And as I've been recording these and posting them, I can resonate with all these people I've worked with past in the past years that have really brought my stories to life, meaning I'm able to connect and heal from them. So that's my contribution for 2018. It's hard to know what to give back, and that's what I want to give back. It's all free content, and I hope you enjoy it. Next month, I will be back in February, the first Tuesday at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'm over here in Colorado, and I'm going to open it up and take questions and talk like one-on-one. I've never done that before, and to be honest, it's because I get really insecure about that and I get scared. So I'm just being honest with you. But that's what I'm going to do next time. So I'll come on and talk a little bit until I start to get some questions and stuff, and then I'd love to meet you and interact with you. But in the meantime, please feel free to follow me on Instagram at PureOChrissy or Twitter at PureOChrissy. And I also have a YouTube channel at Chrissy Hodges, Pure OCD Advocate, and then my new blog at coffeewithchrissy.buzzsprout.com. Thank you for being here today, and thank you to Mental Health on the Mighty for always having me on here. It's such an honor and a blessing to be able to interact with you. And I just want you to know that in 2018, every morning you can wake up and push back, and I can too. And that I'm going to know that you are, and that makes me feel better knowing that I'm not alone. Until February.